hello, and welcome back to another installment of our weekly, that's right, weekly here on Thursdays, another live Ask Me Anything Amazon advertising edition. Super stoked. Already see some people rolling in. Super excited. I have my fourth cup of coffee, so apologies for the high energy today. Hopefully I'm not going to be too obnoxious, but I am really stoked. This is I say this every week, but this is my favorite day of the week because I just get to sit here and jam out for an entire hour. So again, doing this every single Thursday from 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the format for this, just so you're aware, if you have an Amazon advertising question, join, pop your question in the chat. I will bring it up on screen. I'll go through them as they come in, and I'll be able to give you a much more detailed answer to this, to any of your Amazon advertising questions. And as always, if I say something and that triggers another question, or if you want to add further context to your question, so I can maybe even have a more detailed answer, you can actually, again, use the chat options to be able to do that. So, but just a quick reminder for those of you just joining in, you can actually go through and if you want to look at any of our past lives or get on a Google Calendar to be able to know when these are coming up, and as well as get the links, I would recommend going to our website, which is junglr.com. And whoops, didn't want to do that. Go to resources, go to Q&A. You'll be able to get your Amazon ad questions answered. The latest episode, which is the one that we're running right here. And here's a Google Calendar. You actually click the plus button. You can follow the Google Calendar, and you can see here in these, you can actually see where you can watch it. So we are going live on all platforms, which means that this replay is also going to be saved to all of those platforms. So if you join a little bit late, or you wondered what happened last week prior, you can make sure to go do that. And if you're catching this on the replay and you haven't been able to attend these things live, we actually have a way for you to ask your question via this form. Feel free to pop your questions in there, and we'll make sure that those get answered on our live. Also, if you want to watch any past lives, or if you want links to maybe snippets of our prior questions, you can find those there. Awesome. Looks like there are some questions rolling in. One quick update. So I know everyone kind of freaked out last week when we talked about the potential for sponsored display ads to be able to have geo-targeting associated with it. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to use it. Everybody was already talking about how to get information to leverage geo-targeting using your purchase reports and snagging the zip codes. That was the way that you could go through, and everyone was like primed, ready, waiting to launch. However, there has been an update to that. So apparently the rollout to regular like on-platform advertising accounts was in error, but because there was such a outpouring from the community as excitement to the option, time will tell if Amazon actually rolls that out. We'll see. Fingers crossed, because honestly, there are some of our clients that have like really like cold weather products, or maybe they are more applicable to warmer regions. And I mean, geo-targeting and sponsored display ads would be fabulous. However, so if you're unaware of like where that information came out, it actually came out from Brent from ANZ Pathfinder. So I'm going to do a quick plug right here as well. This is a community of very elite Amazon advertisers that I, as well as Michael from Ad Badger, Gonza from Z Square, and Brent from AMZ Pathfinder are part of. And let me tell you, the conversations that are happening weekly in that group would blow your mind. It is the most advanced tactical Amazon ad community mastermind I have ever been a part of, and it is amazing, and I'm so proud to be a part of it. And so Brent's actually the one putting out a lot of that content, so you can find that in the community, as well as just I'd recommend you following Brent on LinkedIn as well. So I'm going to drop it in the chat. We are currently not accepting, so we don't do open enrollment. We actually are enrolling at select times. However, we are going to be reopening enrollment shortly. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you go to that link, which is corecommunity.io, and you should be able to apply for membership, which basically just gets yourself on a list, and then you'll be notified when we start to do open enrollment. Awesome. So I see questions coming in the chat. I'm going to pop this one up for those of you watching. Yeah, so it's corecommunity.io is the name of the website. So highly recommend you check that out. Again, that's up to you, but if you want like the most advanced tactical stuff, I would go through that. Awesome. So some people saying can't wait. Awesome. And cool. Let's pop open the first question and let's get rolling. So this is a great one. Campaigns to create for a new product launch. Good question. So the thing is, I would say what campaigns you need to launch is going to be dependent actually on your keyword research, meaning how many campaigns you should create. What does the structure look like if those campaigns are actually shaped by your keyword research? And so I would recommend doing that first, and what your campaign structure is also going to look like is going to be dependent on your ad budgets. Meaning, if I have an ad budget of $25 a day, my campaign structure needs to be much leaner. Goal in your product launches is to be able to have your ads run throughout the entire day. So you need enough budget to support whatever keywords and campaign structures that you've built. So those two things are prerequisites. Now, as far as campaigns to create in the beginning, because that is your actual question, you want to create sponsored product exact match campaigns around your main keywords. Again, the goal here is to be able to aggressively push out your product onto the very search pages that shoppers are using to look for your exact product. So relevancy of keywords is first and foremost and key here. If you are launching, say, even a baby blanket, right? You would think that that's pretty specific. There is plush baby blankets. There is swaddle blankets. There is muslin blankets. There are the, kind of like monthly baby blankets. All of those have their own sub niches. So basically you want to identify the keywords that are around your sub niche, and you're going to be building out campaigns for those. I would recommend for your top keywords, which is typically about say 2, 3, potentially 4, I would build out single keyword exact match sponsored product ads for those keywords. And then everything else, you might group them. But again, we're going to start with exact match. I would run that for somewhere between 4 days to a week, just to like really hone in on the exact match once your product is well indexed, and you know that Amazon has kind of categorized it. Then you can add in those same keywords in a broad and a phrase match, and potentially, again, when you're very sure that your product is well categorized, you can add in your auto campaigns as well. If you have the creatives and you have the budget to be able to do it, we also will oftentimes launch those same main keywords with a sponsored brands video exact match campaigns. But that's where I would start for the launch, and then your goal is to run that and increase your market share or organic ranking. Awesome. This is another great question. Master PPC, what is up? So what is the best weekly, monthly optimization schedule for bleeders optimization SPSB? Fabulous question. So you have your usual cadence. I want to see if I can pull it up. I had like a whole I want to see if I can pull it because I actually put out a newsletter on this. Which fun fact, we actually have a newsletter that goes out, and I do not publish that information anywhere else. And so I would recommend getting on that because, all right, I'm gonna pull this up because this is gonna answer your question. Okay. Let me do this, add it to the stage. Sweet. So here you go. Daily, you know what? You know what? Let me make your life easier, okay? I'm going to share this with you all in the chat. All right, we'll do that. We'll make it easier. But basically, so your daily tasks. What do we do is we monitor the campaign, so we check accounts daily, and then we adjust bids for top performers if applicable. That is highly relevant when you have like a very seasonal product. So we just got off of Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day was yesterday. Hopefully, everybody had an amazing Valentine's Day and has a Valentine. And lots of joy and love yesterday, hopefully. But that because that was highly seasonal, you got about a week to hit it right and a week to hit the, prior to, then the days right before Valentine's Day, and then absolutely sales are going to drop off a cliff yesterday. And so you want to make sure that you're making daily adjustments to your really aggressive campaign. So that's where the daily may come into play. Although daily bid optimizations for a lot of like low volume keywords, it's not going to make sense to you. Then weekly tasks, you want to review your goals, make sure that you're on track for your targets, campaign structure, analysis, and rework if applicable. These are kind of like the side quests and as need ones. Although you want to do search term analysis, so you are looking for new potential keywords. You're also looking for potential negatives here. Rank analysis, again, the more frequently you can check this as well, because if you're going aggressive after targets, you want to make sure that you're seeing an impact on your keywords. Again, the greater the ad spend, the more frequently you would want to attack this. Adjust placement percentages. Just make sure that you haven't set up anything that's going to go bananas on you. The easiest way to do that also is through bulk files. Do expect a video coming out on our YouTube channel, step-by-step process for doing that very shortly. Thorough bid adjustments, you want to do this weekly. We say like minimum, I would do this weekly. If you're able to, I would do this twice a week. Review and adjust campaign budgets, that's weekly. Inventory checks would be great if you did it daily. We have a software that allows us to basically go in and it will already alert us when inventory is going out. Also, when we don't have sufficient stock and are on track to run out quickly, and we don't have any inbound inventory coming. So that's been phenomenal. That's something we could check daily because it's not a heavy lift for the team to have to do. All right, monthly things. You do want to do a comprehensive campaign review. Basically, what are the overall trends? What needs shifting? What needs fixing? You want to examine each product's role in your portfolio and start changing up tactics. So month to month, right? Do I have a product that is coming into season and I need to be able to push on? Am I missing keywords? Like, how is this product? Is the sales growing? Is the product shrinking? I tell you what, when you can start shifting your ad strategy to not looking at an account level, but looking at the account on a per product level and managing it that way, your level of strategy through the roof. Amazing. Trust me. This is how we have moved to managing in our agency, and like the level at which we're operating at, night and day from when I was like back in the days freelancer, just be like, can this account hit the target A cost? Now, how is every single product doing in the catalog? That is a very extensive lift in terms of analysis. So you definitely want to so we do it about monthly, sometimes bi-weekly, depending on our availability. Let's see. Review your ad creatives. Do you need to update creatives? Product performance deep dive. Niche and category analysis. This is a huge one. Product opportunity explorer and brand analytics inside of the ad console. Chef's kiss, best places to do that. And then, just continuously assessing missed opportunities. I'd recommend doing that. So Master PPC. Hopefully that was helpful, and it looks like a couple of you guys got access to the docs, so awesome. I hope it helps. All right, good question. All right, next question up is my questions about the updates Amazon made to PPC in 2024 and the best way to allocate spend on keywords for a new product launch. Great question. So my first reply about stick to exact match, get very strategic, get specific to the product, is going to be applicable. And let me pull up, and I'm going to share with you a video that I would recommend you review. It's a little bit longer video. Now, there is an SOP that is attached to it, which you might find helpful as well. It was actually a webinar I did, or like a, I don't know if you call it like a workshop or something. I'm going to drop this in the chat as well. But if you go into the channel, it is keyword research for Amazon product workshop. That's going to be phenomenal for you to review. That's going to give you a much more in-depth, nitty-gritty, step-by-step keyword research method than I'm going to be able to even just tell you on my answer right here. And now as far as updates to the Amazon PPC made in 2024, made it in 2024. I mean, we're a couple months in. Everyone freaked out about the vertical videos and sponsor brand ads. Those are a thing. If you have any clients that are using like UGC content and they have vertical videos, highly recommend testing that. Again, there's also been updates in themes targeting to sponsored brands, which is kind of interesting. Although our preliminary tests with that show that like the targeting is kind of crappy on that one. That was an interesting update. And again, what I mentioned in the beginning of this call, there was accidental release of geo-targeting and sponsored display ads. However, they've since rolled that back and said, oops, we're sorry, we didn't mean to let you guys have that. However, everyone was so excited over the potential release. I'm kind of hoping they're going to give it to us. So time will tell. We'll see. Hopefully that answers your question. If you had any follow-up questions, definitely let me know. Here's a technical one. In Campaign Manager, what does 25% top of search impression share mean? Is it A, 25% of all impressions given to my campaign or in the top of search position, or 25% of all impressions given to all advertisers were of my advertising product? Good question. It is the B. My understanding is it's the B. Because actually, if you download a sponsored product search term impression share report, you'll see your impression rank. And that's actually universal across, like if you have different search terms, or if you have the same search term triggering in different places, it's actually going to show the same impression rank. If you want, if you wanted to figure out A, say 25% of all impressions given to your campaign was in the top of search, you would go and evaluate the placement percentage adjustments. The search term impression share is going to give you the data in relation to other advertisers on that particular keyword, which I actually, that's been a constant rollout as far as the data availability from Amazon, which I love, because we used to see like, oh my gosh, what is everybody else doing? Am I above? Am I below my category? I don't know. And they're coming out with things like Search Query Report, Product Opportunity Explorer, brand metrics inside of the ad console. Brand analytics was always there, but like, and then things like impression share reports. Goodness, like that data is amazing because we can now benchmark ourselves confidently against the competition because we're actually looking at first party data, which is phenomenal. Cool. Plenty of questions rolling in. This is amazing. All right, I'm gonna have to try and speed up my answers. I like giving long-winded answers, but it looks like we got quite a few. Cool. Another question: how to check organic ranking for a product on Amazon? Great question. So there's two ways you can do it. One manual and one's going to be software. If you want to track things over time, save yourself a trip. Do it through software. We use both Helium 10 and Data Rova. are really good tools. My team likes the display in Datarova a little bit better because it is a heat map grid, which makes it a little bit more easy to understand sometimes than the graphs that are in Helium 10. However, we do find Helium 10 is a little bit better at tracking keyword search volume and has other capabilities that we miss in Datarova. So we use both. As far as tracking it manually, all you would want to do is open an incognito window on your browser, go to Amazon, type that keyword into search, and simply observe where does your product appear. And that would be how you would manually check it. But again, if you're trying to track over time and say, I am investing more in my advertising, is that influencing my organic rank positively? Again, I would highly recommend use software. I mean, money and resources setting, I would recommend software every single time. Another great question. Best combination of map types for branded, generic, and competitor keyword targets. Yeah, I'm still a huge fan of using all the above. So we use exact match, phrase match, and broad match for pretty much all targets across the board. And now that does somewhat vary depending on the account budget and then what stage we're in, because you notice when I was talking about product launches, I recommended launching specifically an exact match and then sticking to that for a while. So I do think that that is applicable. What I would say is that the more aggressive you want to target something, the more specific your match type should be. And that's not because there's anything wrong with phrase match or anything wrong with broad match. Everything has their place. The difference between those is when I am aggressive in exact match, I can be 100% confident that my spend is being allocated to that specific search term, versus if I have in a phrase match or a broad match, if I'm more aggressive in my phrase match, again, I'm going to trigger various search terms. And in my broad match, I'm going to trigger even more search terms. And that's even gotten more exponential recently. And so in that case, if I'm going to set aggressive, when I say like go after something, I just mean if you're going to put high bids and you want to intentionally say like, I want to rank on this keyword, I want to invest my ad spend to, influence my ranking on this keyword, exact match all the way, still run all the match types to cover your bases. We find that often that really helps balance out the cost per clicks and the performance of the account and gets you broader visibility at oftentimes a much cheaper cost. So that would be my recommendation. Another great question. Question 2, keep them coming. If I'm not eligible for day parting, can I still do manual day parting? Say start PPC every day for the fixed time segment. Cons. Yes, you can. You may. Honestly, when it comes to day parting, software really has a leg up here, even though there is day parting availability inside of the ad console. One things we find setting it up, monitoring it, and potentially taking it down if we need to is very, very time consuming, tedious, and it's very easy for things to get lost. If you're going to leverage software, or if you're going to do day parting, highly recommend you do software. And also software can be really beneficial when it comes to evaluating, if it makes sense. Again, I plug them all the time. It's because I absolutely love them. We've been using them for the last 2 years and do not plan on stopping. The software we use is called KPOQ. It's KAPOQ. Fantabulous. And they have the ability to download a report that is a heat map and also allow for us to set up day parting at scale at very incremental levels. And so that can be very helpful. The con of doing things manually, I mean, you can technically, but it's going to be really, really hard to manage. And what happens if like over the weekend you forget about it, then you're kind of left in a hole. So it's best to have something in the background running it for you. It would be my recommendation. All right, another great question. Hey, Elizabeth Greene, what's your opinion on suggestions by Amazon to optimize PPC campaigns? Do you like this % bid up on that specific keyword? Would those optimizations really help or not? So sometimes the optimizations are really good and sometimes they're really, really bad. And you need to use discernment. So first off, I would say I would not blindly apply them. If you have extra time it's not always a bad idea to go in and sort of look at their refinements. So just so you're aware, the way that those refinements go through is they are system generated, meaning the algorithm is saying like, okay, we're going to check on these certain points and we recommend you do X based on our blanket algorithms. I think we all know what happens when you sign up for a software or you use something like that, where it's like blanket apply this generic approach. Sometimes it works really well and sometimes it can absolutely bomb your account. And so it's kind of the same thing with Amazon suggested. Now, sometimes if you get like a particular rep, where they will advise you set up certain campaigns or use certain keywords. Often, not always, depends on how good the rep is. We've talked to a few where like their system auto generates everything and they manually go through it and sort of push the suggestions, which then show up in your ad console. So if you can find a good rep, which they will reach out to you oftentimes, yeah, that can be kind of helpful. Again, we know enough of what we're doing that we haven't seen like a huge benefit of pushing those. But I would say proceed with caution. I've seen some doozies in terms of the recommendations. And unfortunately, there was one particular account that I was like, hey, I don't think these are really good recommendations. I'm looking at what got set up and this is really going to come back to bite you. And they're like, oh no, let me I'll do it. And the ACoS resulting of those campaigns that were recommended was over 300%, over 400% on sometimes. So again, as everything, use your best judgment. Oh, LinkedIn user says, I would love to see the link you shared, please. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't do that. When I type it in, it doesn't put up the thing on LinkedIn. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to go over to LinkedIn and see if I can find that feed, and I will try and drop it there. See if you guys can see it. Awesome. So, hey, Elizabeth, what are the best strategies we can go with if we are selling a product whose price is 50% higher than our competitor's price? The brand is well developed. It is branded search. We're doing well, capturing 5,000 search volume. How can we scale? Ooh, that's tricky. That's tricky. So it comes down to conversion rates and if anyone is willing to purchase this at that price, which is what you need to find out. So what you need to do is you probably want to get more strategic with it and go and review your keyword lists through the lens of what do those shopper search pages look like. Search Query is actually really great for this. And Product Opportunity Explorer, I believe, will show you the average price on that particular search. So that's basically what you're looking at is when I look at this particular search page, can I infer based on the products that are ranked here that the can I infer that people are more willing to purchase a higher priced product from that? That's what I would do. I would look into, again, can you figure that out? And if you can, great. Go after those ones. So hopefully that was helpful. All right. So for the LinkedIn one, I found the feed. I'm going to share this link on LinkedIn. So anyone watching on LinkedIn, let me know if that came through. It's a Google Doc link. All right. Oh, this is a fabulous one. What's the best strategy for clothing brand with many variations, season, winter, and summer? Oh my goodness. Yes. We deal with this all the time. It's absolutely painful. My goodness. So what I recommend is I'm going to find the video here. I would recommend watching this. I would watch this video on advertising variations. You are going, and you know what? I'm going to pop it in the chat as well. So this particular video right here, how to increase sales with the best variation ad strategy. We manage several large clothing brands and been, very successful with that. I'm going to drop it in the chat. I'm going to pop over here to LinkedIn. I'm going to drop that one in the chat there as well. So hopefully you guys can see that. With variations, you want to be very specific with what you are advertising on. The other thing to keep in mind is stock issues. So stock's going to fluctuate all the time. You definitely want to keep on track of that. If your bestsellers are running out of stock, you need to be able to pivot. So that's going to tell you like the ad structure and campaign structure. That's a really extensive video. I'm not going to get into all of that. Go check that out. And then winter and summer, you want to be able to figure out the seasonality. So this is we recently updated our seasonality playbook, and I'm actually going to be doing a presentation for the $1 Billion Sellers, Kevin King's thing. I'm going to actually be talking exactly our case study on how we increased profit margins over 20 points through adjusting our seasonality strategy, which has been phenomenal for us. Basically, what you want to do is you want to be able to evaluate when that seasonal trend shows an uptick. So for example, with your winter clothing, and this actually is super difficult to hit in clothing because oftentimes when that seasonality hits, meaning when consumers start purchasing more long sleeves versus short sleeves, is contingent on the weather that year. So that's painful, like, right? Like if you have a really hot winter, you actually have less sales of your fleece long sleeves than the previous year when the winter was really cold. And when you have an increase in blizzards across the country, you all of a sudden see an uptick in jackets. Like, oh my goodness, it's bananas to keep on top of. But what you want to do is do your best to anticipate those upticks and try not to start aggressively advertising too soon. That's actually what we figured out is if you aggressively advertise too soon, what you do is you actually damage your profitability. And so you want to be able to basically align with where you're being aggressive with the uptick in consumer behaviors. And then that will allow you to have profitability on your seasonal products. It requires a very deep analysis. So what we do is we pick the main products that we would like to do that analysis on, top 5, 10, etc. And then we'll make sure to align those ones, or you can kind of categorize them into, like, if you have a product that typically sells on the same keywords, you can kind of group those products to do the analysis. So the creation, hopefully that helped. But yeah, clothing and seasonality, man, that is a fun one. Goodness, oh goodness, we got them rolling on into the chat. I'm gonna make sure I'm not missing anybody. All right. Someone was requesting about detailed auditing. Yeah, it's basically it's aligning, it's looking at the brands and saying what is it that they're trying to accomplish and how are their ads not set up to accomplish that. If I had to roll audits into a nutshell, a good audit into a nutshell, it would be exactly that. That's how you do a better audit that's tailored to the brand and not a checklist audit. Like, oh, you don't have sponsor-ins video campaigns for this particular product that is selling 2 units a month. That makes no sense. Like, you want to be able to tailor it to the brand and what they want. Classic example, I just did an audit for a brand today for this call. And if you look at their profitability looks in the toilet. And so if I had no context on the brand and their goals, I would have advised a very aggressive pruning strategy to the ads. The thing is, I did have context on this brand and I did know what it was that they were trying to accomplish. And their goals were to absolutely dominate in market share. And they were also struggling from a lot of excess inventory of products. And they need to aggressively sell through that inventory because they need the cash flow to be able to hit a large reorder. That's important to the longevity of the brand. So us pulling back and running a more profit conscious strategy, although looking at the numbers from the outside in with, again, no context on the brands, I would have advised that strategy heavily. I'll be like, oh my gosh, guys, what are you guys doing? You need to pull back. You need to do this. Here's where all the waste is happening in the account. There is waste. We will correct it. But that's not what the brand was looking for. The brand was looking for, how can I grow my market share? And so our audit focused on tactical strategies to be able to do that. That is why understanding what the brand's needs are are insanely important. Good question. All right. Yeah. I'm seeing people on LinkedIn say they can't see the links. So hopefully you guys can see the links now. We'll see. Otherwise, feel free to DM me on LinkedIn and I will send you guys the links that I just dropped. But the question was, does a drop in ad impressions cause a drop in organic ranking too? Good question. Only if and only if the drop in the ad impressions causes a decrease in your order sales velocity, and the decrease in your order and sales velocity is enough to make your sales velocity lower than your competitors. Hopefully that made sense. So essentially how ranking works, Amazon looks at a plethora of different things, conversion rates, click-through rates, all of the positive add to carts, all of those things. But one of the main things that they look for is how many people purchase this product when they are searching. How many people who type in this search purchase this product? If more people who type in the search purchase your product, and that happens over an extended period of time, you will climb up in the rankings, and that's how you get organic ranking. If that decrease in ad impressions means less people are seeing your product through the ads, and then the sort of cumulative, meaning the way that the ads influence organic ranking is if the ads sales are happening through that one specific search. That's why I talk about if you're going aggressive, go an exact match so you can influence the sales velocity through that one specific search. If both the organic and the advertising combined make a greater sales velocity on that one shopper search, then you will climb up in rankings. And that is exactly and precisely the reason why a lot of people will push their advertising, they'll see their organic ranking climb, and then they'll say, oh, this is unprofitable, and they'll cut their ads, and then their ranking decreases. And they're like, well, what gives? It's because those ad sales through that shopper search were adding to the cumulative or total sales that you were getting through that one shopper search. And without those additional ad sales, you do not have enough sales velocity to be able to push past your competitors. And so your ranking decreases. So, nutshell, potentially, but it just depends. If you have enough organic or organic sales, to be able to maintain that sales velocity, then you'll be totally fine. So it's really dependent on the product and the search and lots of other things. Cool. Good question. All right, here's one on a modified broad match. When we have a broad match modifier, how is exact match more beneficial than that, or is it not? Example, exact 1, 2, 3, broad match 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So the only thing that a modified broad match will change is that the modified broad match requires that every single individual word that has a little plus symbol in front of it has to appear in the shopper search. It basically functions exactly the same way as a broad match. So example here, I'm going to use your 1, 2, 3 example. So if we were advertising on the keyword in exact match 1, 2, 3, then we would only ever appear on the search 1, 2, 3. If we had a broad match modified keyword 1, 2, 3, we could show up on 1, 5, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 5, 3. Any of those variations of the search, as long as they contain 1, 2, and 3, those are the root words, we would trigger those particular searches, which, as I said, if you are setting high bids, that means you could potentially trigger a ton of different things and not just be super specific to the search 1, 2, 3. Hopefully that makes sense. Good question. What are your parameters before using top of search and placement percentages? A good performance on those placement percentages, meaning the way we do it is a little bit different. We don't typically, there are outlying use cases, but typically speaking, we do not preemptively set placement percentage adjustments on our campaigns. We will sometimes for launch if we want to get super aggressive with something, but again, for the most part, we'll wait to see what the performance is, and then providing it makes sense given the performance of the campaign, we will then put a top of search or a placement percentage, or sometimes a rest of search now that that's available, a placement percentage. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free. Christian says, thank you, Elizabeth. Awesome. I'm really glad you're finding this helpful. Okay, cool. So how to rank a high ticket product with high cost per clicks. So I'm going to give you an answer that is the correct answer, but probably not the answer that you're looking for. So how you rank a high ticket product is you just have to make sure that you hit a good sales velocity, meaning can I get enough increase on the searches that, again, are triggering through this specific keyword, and can I get more than my competition over an extended period of time, and that will increase my organic ranking. Most times when this, like, that's how you do it. You take the search term, you put it in a keyword, you put it in an exact match, you run really aggressive bids, you make sure you have a budget that is high enough to be able to run all day. And you get all those sales, and those sales add to the entire pot, ads plus organic, and then your ranking increases. The problem, and why you are not going to be happy with what I just told you, is because that oftentimes costs a lot, and that is not a profitable strategy always. So probably what you're seeing is that because it's a high ticket product, and you have a high cost per clicks, running the strategy playbook I just told you is really expensive, and you have an insanely high A cost, and it's not sustainable, which then leads you to that other issue I was telling you about, how if you decrease the amount of ad orders that are happening, and so you decrease the overall sales that are happening through that search term, all of a sudden your great organic ranking is nowhere to be found, and you slip down in the rankings, and then you have to start the cycle all over again. And it's a vicious cycle. So what I would say your goal is to figure out which search terms or which keywords you have a good enough conversion rate on that you can offset those high cost per clicks. Because essentially the way a conversion rate works is they lower your conversion rate, the more clicks it takes you to convert to a sale. And if you're paying for every single one of those clicks, then it's going to cost you a lot to make a single sale. Versus if you have a very high conversion rate, which means you only take a handful. Like if you had 100% conversion rate, every single one of your clicks is going to convert to a sale, which nobody has 100% conversion rate whatsoever. But in that case, even if I had, I don't know, like a $2 cost per click, I could afford that all day long because it cost me $2 to make an order and I have a $20 cost. Like I'm going to put money in that machine all day long, right? Versus if I have that $2 and I'm looking at a 2% conversion rate. Well, that 2% conversion rate means I have to take 50 clicks. 50 clicks at $2 is $100. If I have to pay $100 to make $20, that's a losing scenario. So that's the game you're trying to play, is where does the conversion rate offset the cost per click, and where can I make those numbers work to be able to, one, get the orders I need to rank, and then two, have a cost or total A cost that I can afford with the product. And that's why strategies are easy, because like that exact match, high bids, push your budgets, get the sales. Like that's an easy to say, right? The hard thing to do is where and what and all of the nuances that I just explained to you. So that's what you got to work on. All right, Q1, how to rank a product with a premium quality with higher price among major sellers. Yeah, okay, so that was a follow-up to your previous question. So hopefully that my answer, hopefully that was helpful. If you have any follow-up questions on that or any of the nuances, let me know. Yep. Oh, you're saying you can see the links now. That's awesome. Cool. Glad you can get them. Hopefully it helps. Feel free to make a copy of that. Cool. So what is your preference between using a broad and broad match modified? Yeah, when at all possible, I would recommend using broad match modified. Unfortunately, broad match modified, just due to the formatting, sometimes like gets really weird in bulk files, unfortunately, which is kind of annoying because the little plus symbol makes it think it's a formula when it's not, and you end up with errors and it's kind of funky. But other than that weird little nuance, And the fact that sometimes broad match modified, if you're trying to like convert keywords to it, it's kind of like annoying to put a little plus symbol in front of all of the individual words. So there is that nuance to it as well. But other than those two things, honestly, I think modified broad match is probably has a little bit greater benefit to it. So we use both. I don't think it's a bad idea to use both, is what I would say. Cool. Looks like we're at it. Finally, I was scrolling through those questions because they were coming in really quick, but it looks like I got to the end of the question. So if anyone has any, again, follow-up questions to something I said, if you are have any additional questions, you want to hop in the chat, I'm here for another 15 minutes. So I got someone saying thank you. Of course, you are very welcome. It is my pleasure. Again, favorite day of the week. I love being able to slide in and answer your Amazon ad questions. So I would say, again, if anyone has anything, then I'll make sure I hang out here for another 15 minutes. If we don't get any other questions in the chat, then I'll probably end the stream early so I don't completely lose my voice. But yeah, I want to share this. I am excited, guys. I just put out a video. It was a question that I got a lot, which now that I think about it, I got about 2 people I got to send the direct link to. But I've been getting asked, how do you add negative keywords to your account through bulk files? Which, if you don't know if you don't know what bulk files are, and 2, if you are still downloading the search term reports and then going in and manually adding negatives, use this, watch this. It's going to literally save you hours of time. I guarantee it. You could easily add thousands of keywords within a matter of minutes. It's phenomenal, both to sponsored product ads and sponsored brand ads, all with a couple clicks of a button. So I would recommend going and watching that if you are struggling or that is a workflow that just takes your team a lot of time. There's also a free template and resource that you can get a hold of, which should help you out with that as well. So highly recommend. And if you have any bulk file questions, feel free to use that link in our website. Let me show you here. So if you go to the website, you go to resources and Q&A. Also in the form here, there, feel free to type, maybe just use this one. I'm going to be putting out a lot more content around bulk files because there's a lot of instances where bulk files are a game changer in terms of saving time, and can even be a better option than software sometimes in the workflow. So I would recommend checking that out. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out and let me know. Question, should we launch a product and variation them immediately or later? Great question. So this a little bit falls outside of the scope of my expertise. However, I will say if you launch the product separately, then you can benefit from enrolling all of the variations in Vine, and then you can combine the listing, and then all of those reviews will be aggregated at the listing level, which can be very beneficial. And exponentially increase your reviews. Other people prefer to launch them immediately all together, and so you can do it that way as well. It's really a preference. It's up to you. It's if you want to do say all the Vine together or not. Good question. Would you use a broad modified at launch or wait a couple weeks after launch to see which words an exact match perform well? Yeah, I would recommend starting off with exact match for the first potentially first 4 days to a week. And then after those perform well, it's mostly about being confident that Amazon knows, or not Amazon knows, that the algorithm understands your product well and where it fits, because that's going to help it make the algorithm make better decisions when it comes to what search terms it's going to trigger in your broader keywords. So I would say stick with the exact match in the beginning for ranking. And then again, once you've proved out your product, you want to launch in sponsor or in the broad match and phrase match as well. So we used to launch in all 3 match types right out of the gate, and that was a very common one, but we've since moved to launching primarily an exact match. Sponsored products, exact match is what I would say. Stick to those upon launch, and then add the other ad types as you go. Cool. All right, looks like we don't have any other questions in the chat. So I'm going to, again, if you want to see when next week's live is going to be, and if you want to get a reminder for that, highly recommend you go and you follow the Google Calendar. We'll be putting the links in the next calendar. You see all the links for today's live are here. So we'll make sure that we put those in as soon as we create the next live. And as always, this has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate everyone showing up, asking your questions. And so I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks, guys.